Welcome back to the Cyclone Fanatic pregame show. We're in the Wild Rose Casino Studios. I'm your host, Leah Nelson, alongside Chris Williams. We have a fun game to talk about. Iowa State taking on Baylor this week. We'll get into it, but first, let's thank a few of our sponsors. We'll start with Fairway. It's going to be a long tailgate this weekend, so make sure you hit the Fairway Meat Market in Ames.
Longer for some than others, by the way. Some people will start on like Friday.
Well, what time do the tailgate lots open?
Well,
noon.
Probably 11:30 or 12. Yeah, 12:30. Yeah, probably noon. And then that RV village. These people are up there at like 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday, and they just drink the whole time. They just drink and eat Fairway meat.
Right. You can't just live on beer. You've got to have some good quality meat in your system. So
you gotta get that protein.
You got to get that protein. So make sure you hit Fairway, and you'll be set to go for the tailgate. And then also.
Absolutely.
We've got Aer Lingus College Football Classic. Once again, mark your calendars for August 23rd, 2025. The Cyclones will face Kansas State in Dublin. You got to get the full travel package. It includes hotel, breakfast, excursions. You can get all of the details at cyclones2ireland.com. Cyclones, the number 2.
When I was at the Sweet 16 in Boston, so Boston's got like a ton of Irish like pubs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They had all these ones that would play like these Irish like folk singers and stuff. Oh my God. Some of the most fun I've ever had.
Great stuff.
I'm up there like river dancing and like doing all that stuff. Oh, it was just incredible.
I would love to see that.
I can't wait to get to Ireland.
I'm saving up.
I can't wait until kickoff on Saturday night, Cyclones and Baylor.
I'm so excited.
Leah Nelson's going to be in attendance, and she loves it when you guys come up and tell her you watch the show. So go up and give her a high five.
It makes me so nervous when people approach me and they're like, "Oh, you!" And I'm, "What? What did I do?"
You're famous. You're famous. Well, fascinating football game, Leah. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with, what are we going to see from Baylor?
That's the $1 million question, because I think I know a lot about Iowa State. I think the one question for Iowa State is, can they get off to a better start offensively? But for Baylor, there's a mixed bag here because they're playing for an embattled coach. He very well could get fired if they lose this game convincingly. So that is a weird spot to be in. I think, because I think they're still playing for their coach. They haven't quit. Their 2 losses in the Big 12 are at Colorado on a last-second Hail Mary. Okay, so that, regardless of how you look at that, that's a fluke loss. They played well enough to win that. They should have won that game. Okay, and Colorado just kills Central Florida last week, and what we all thought was one of the most impressive wins in college football last week. So they're pretty good. Like, we all think Colorado's pretty good. Then BYU, nationally ranked, best resume in the Big 12 at this point in the season, comes to Baylor last week, gets on them 21-0. They're firing the coach. I'm watching it. These Baylor insiders, it's over. Okay. They come back, like if you quit on your coach, you don't make a comeback in the second half in front of a half empty stadium like they did. And they I think if like a diehard Baylor fan were joining us, they probably think they should have won that game. They only give up 46 yards in the second half. Offense starts to get going. So this is clearly a team that, despite its struggles and despite its 0-2 start, I will tell you they are a talented football team. This is a much more talented football team than the one Iowa State played last week. I still think they're playing for Dave Aranda, so I'm anticipated a spirited Baylor team. However, the caveat to that is, if Iowa State can use the crowd to its advantage, I think it'll be a sellout. Probably by the time you guys are watching this, it'll be announced a sellout. Night game is like a different vibe. I think Iowa State has an opportunity here to jump on this team early and really break their neck and crush their dreams, and that's what I'm hoping for.
So, I mean, you talked about Iowa State, starting early, but consistently these last few games, they've been having really, really slow starts. And then better football in the second half. Do you credit
Yes.
that to the slow starts we've seen, or is that just like the staple of the staff, how they're able to turn it around after the first and second quarter?
I think it's probably both. I mean, I think Iowa State's defense for sure, the way John Haycock has coached ever since they have, really transformed defensive football against spread offenses with their dime stack approach. He starts off very conservative. This is a classic Haycock move, and then they'll bring more pressure because they don't want to bring all the pressure early because you don't want to bring it if you don't need it. If you can get pressure with 3, you're going to get pressure with 3. So it builds up throughout the course of the game. I think the offense is generally just starting slow. I don't think anything is by design. I think that Rocco Becht has been a significantly better quarterback in the second half this year compared to the first half. I think he's been better in the second quarter compared to the first quarter. Why is that? I really don't know. I do think that there's an opportunity here, though, for Iowa State. This is going to be the third game with Jalen Travis at left tackle, second game where he's starting. And they got in a weird spot last week that I thought was a little bit fluky, where Houston was able to pin Iowa State back. Iowa State was starting its drives inside the 5-yard line, and it's really hard to get into an offensive rhythm like that. It doesn't matter who you are. I think there's a real opportunity here for this Iowa State team where I'm going to pick Baylor to keep this thing respectable and very close. Okay, I do think that I think that there's a shot this is a higher scoring game than people think, only because I'm a believer in the Iowa State offense that breaks out in some way, shape, or form. But I also think Baylor is going to challenge Iowa State defensively in a way it has not seen all year from anybody else. They have more skill players. They have more weapons. Probably the best quarterback Iowa State has seen. And just their system, right? Like it's like a true spread attack. Houston was quite one-dimensional. That was a bad offense. Iowa that day was a good offense in the first quarter, but got very one-dimensional and was very easy to defend. Arkansas State posed no challenge, and North Dakota that game was kind of just weird at the beginning of the year. It's a totally different defense now with Caleb Bacon out of the lineup and all that. So I actually, the more I break it down, the more I think that this could be a higher scoring affair than what most experts think. Because you look at Iowa State's defense on paper, if you don't watch the games, if you don't watch the film, and you go, well, it's a top 5 defense in the country because that's what the numbers say, which it's correct. They've done what they were supposed to do. But you have to factor in how bad Houston is and how good of a matchup that was. And then the fact that Iowa's kind of the same way. It's just not what they do, right? I think it's been a little skewed, and I anticipate Baylor testing Iowa State on the second level. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I don't think Iowa State's going to give up a ton of touchdowns and stuff, but I think this Baylor team will score some points. The good news is I think Iowa State will score a lot more. How about
Good.
that?
I love
Cyclones, 5-0. That's what I'm anticipating. And if they do, my buddies over at McFarland Clinic, that's a segue right there. They are going to be very happy. My doctors Greenwald and Warmy, they are on the field. Orthopedic surgeons with your Iowa State Cyclones. Dr. Warmy is my shoulder doctor.
Love that.
Yeah. You think I'm going to go to anybody but the best, but Warmy
Right.
and Greenwald? Absolutely not. This shoulder is a delicate piece of art, and it must be taken care of. Dr. Warmy, Dr. Greenwald, God bless them. The orthopedic surgeons at the McFarland Clinic, and they can take good care of you too. And my friends, Judd and my buddy Joe Farron over at Centurion Stone of Iowa, all my great friends there. They do the best stone patios. They can do anything really on a patio, grills, all that good stuff. I hired them a couple years ago to basically create a stone fireplace in my living room. We decided we're not going to move, and we needed to put some money into our house to make it what we wanted. They did a beautiful job. It completely changed the look of our entire living room. So I would highly recommend hitting up my guys over at Centurion Stone of Iowa. Cyclones and the Bears, Leah. Where else we going? Let's go. I'm fired up. I could do 2 hours on this game.
All right. So last show, you talked about how, well, both of us agreed that there weren't any nerves for Big 12 play. That you think they cut that out. The Iowa game got it all out. But with how much hype is around this Iowa State Baylor game with a potential 5-0 start first since what, 1980?
Yes.
That's
what year were you born?
2000.
Okay. So
and what year were you born?
1984. So I wasn't born either.
Oh my God. Wow. Twins.
I was just going to say, it'd have been the day you were born. The last time Iowa State went 5-0 was 2 decades before you were even born.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like this is history we're talking about.
It is, and it's fun to kind of think about it in that way.
We need to embrace it. Like,
right.
I believe in life. We should celebrate everything. Find reason. Seriously, I believe that. We don't do it enough. Like, we sit around and we complain about things and we find things to nitpick. We don't celebrate even small victories as much as we should.
Like the weather, it's going to be hot, but at least it's not rainy and crappy and snowing.
I'm so tired of people bitching about it's going to be 90. What do you want? You know, because you'd be complaining if it was raining too. So stop. Just enjoy it. Get a tan.
Positivity. Get a tan. I love it. Anyway, so with all this hype, does that change your mind at all? Do you think there's going to be some pressure? It's a night game.
I think that there's more of a chance for that to happen this week than last week.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there's the other aspect of that too. I was talking to a Baylor buddy of mine who covers them, and he actually thinks it's going to be better for that team to be away from Waco. There's an element of that, like where, especially when the fans are against you, which that happens too, where it's just like, because you know this as an athlete, Leo, like, and I've traveled with teams enough to have felt this. When you go on the road, it's like an us versus the world mentality. Very much feels different. And then when there's more distractions at home, right? You're maybe player on the team has a girlfriend who can text him, I don't know, just throwing out an example, but I'm not that concerned. But I would be more on alert for that this week, only because when you're at home, like Nick Saban always talked about, don't eat the rat poison, right? And what he meant by that was don't read your own headlines. And all this week, idiots like me have been talking about the 4-0 start and the history, and you pull up Twitter and you see Iowa State in the college football playoff, and these are still young people who you can try and protect them from it, but they're still going to see this stuff. There's more pressure when you're playing at home in a game like this than on the road, no doubt. So I think Iowa State's got a pretty mature football team. And I think that they got a head coach that has their complete undivided attention. And from what I know, inside of that locker room this week, it has been a razor sharp focus on they fully grasp what is ahead of them and that doesn't mean they're going to go 12-0. I don't think they're going to go 12-0. The reality is they could still go 10-2 and play for a Big 12 championship, and then you're one game away from going to the college football playoff. So everything is out there, and I think they know that. More concerned this week than I was last when it comes to that, but I'm not overly concerned. My big concern is the fact that while Iowa State is very good, and for the sake of an argument, let's say they are the best team in the Big 12, okay? They may not be, but let's say they are for this argument. I still don't think there's much of a difference between team number 1 and team 10. I think they're all pretty the same, is not talent-wise close to the same. Culture, execution, that's a different story. But Baylor is not like, I think Iowa State has a more talented roster. Baylor is not that far off from what Iowa State is, or from what Kansas State is, or from what Utah is. They're not that far off. So that's the thing. It's just like, if you go out there and you play a B- game, you could lose if they play an A game. Well, if you play a B- game and they play a B- game, Iowa State will win by 10, right?
Yeah. And you made a good point, because honestly, like, speaking from experience, we always played so much better when we were away. We didn't do as well at home because we were going to these softball schools like Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, where they sell out crowds, like they have standing room only. Everyone's against you, booing you, and you just want to like prove everyone wrong. And so that's kind of where my head is at, that like Baylor could come out, guns a blazing, because
I think so. And like, They've on the other side, you put yourself in Baylor's shoes. They're walking around campus this week hearing about how their coach should be fired
Right.
and how none of them are worth their NIL money.
That's so sad. That's so sad.
But it is the reality of college sports today. And it is sad. But like they're kind of like, screw you. Like, we'd rather get out of here and just go and do our thing and prove you wrong.
Right.
And they played a better game at Colorado than they did last week at home against BYU. There's no doubt in my mind. I watched both those games the last couple nights when I was protecting my house from those hooligans during homecoming. And like, I'm telling you, like they're 0-2, but they're not that far off from upsetting somebody. Yeah. My hope
it's not us.
My hope is it's not Iowa State, and that Iowa State can crush their dreams on Saturday night, which I think is very possible. But I'm not like confident in. I think Iowa State will win this game. I think Iowa State's a better team, but I'm not confident in like how I think the game will go.
Yeah. Well, we kind of talked about like the slow starts earlier. What do you think Iowa State needs to do differently to stop the slow starts? Or do you think their game plan, picking it up in the second half is working for them?
No, I mean, they're going to try and get the running game going because Baylor has really struggled stopping the run. However, Baylor, another important note is they've had some key injuries on defense, and coaches lie all the time about injuries, so who knows if it'll actually happen. But Dave Aranda, probably one of the more trustworthy guys in a press conference, I think, in college football, he said that a lot of those guys are going to be back. That could go one of two ways. It's like, are they rusty? Are they, I don't know. I don't know Baylor well enough, but to me, I'm a firm believer, and I think Taylor Mauser is too. It's like Iowa State will try and establish a run game, but if not, you quickly go to the short passing game. I'm comfortable throwing 40 times a game if Iowa State has to. I don't think they will. The kid I want to watch more is this Jalen Jackson, this running back transfer from Eastern Michigan. Abu Sama is the number one running back, and he showed why when he ripped it for 77 yards in the second half against Houston. He's Iowa State's home run threat. To speak your language, Leah, he is our cleanup hitter. We want him at number 4. But this Jalen Jackson, I'm wondering if he's not your leadoff hitter. I'm wondering if he's not. He has been analytically, what eye test. He has been Iowa State's most effective running back in the first 4 games. And I'm just wondering if we may see more and more of him. They rolled him out for media this week, which they hadn't done. I'm always looking for little signs, like what are we going to, and I'm wondering if that kid's not going to see more touches. I don't think anybody would be against it. And in fact, at running back, I think that'd make Abu Sama even better in the second half if he's not having all those carries. So
I agree.
Yeah. Ground game, but most importantly, give Rocco Beck some easy completions early.
Yep.
Easy completions early, build up the confidence, get that number 18 involved, Ben Bramer. I need more Ben Bramer. I don't need 3 tight end sets, but I need more Ben Bramer. And he's an easy completion. Get the ball rolling, and I have no doubt that Iowa State will pull away and win this one by a couple of scores. But I'm just not. This is a weird, just because everything going on with Baylor, I just don't have a ton of confidence that I've locked in on how this thing ends up going. What do you think? I forgot even what I put for my score prediction. It was a conservative. It was like 27-17, something like that for Iowa
Can you
State.
Stop doing that?
Why? What did you do?
27-17.
Yes.
That's actually insane. We've been so close every time.
Well, I mean, great minds, Clones 27-17. You heard it first.
That's actually crazy.
I think they go under the total.
Yeah.
But it could. But I wouldn't be surprised. This is why I'm just not confident, because I could see this in a weird way. If Iowa State's offense gets rolling and this thing turns into a track meet, I'd love Iowa State's chances if that happens, because I think Iowa State has a better offense. But, yeah, I'm just not a great feel on this one. Leah is going to be at the game.
I know. I'm so excited.
Her first game in 2024 So
Yeah,
I will have
watch out.
halftime and post game all by my lonesome. But I've only done that way for 15
I was
years.
gonna
I'm
say,
sure I
was
can
it? How
figure
was it last week? You looked great.
It'll be fine. Yeah. No, it was great. It was honestly like I got very analytical with the football stuff because you weren't there to keep me on track for the common folk. So it'll be good to get
For
you
the
back.
common folk.
Yeah. No, those road games when I'm just sitting here in my office just studying it, like it was fine. Like it was a very constructive conversation with our audience. But we missed you. We'll be glad to have you back whenever you decide to join us.
Thanks. I'll see.
And Leah's going to be around too in basketball season
Yeah.
doing these with me as well. So you'll get to hear from her a lot more.
Yep. But yeah, sorry guys, you won't see me, but thanks to our sponsors.
Absolutely.
Aer Lingus College Football Classic, Fairway Meat Market, Centurion Stone, and McFarland Clinic. They rock. You rock. Aiden
Everybody
rocks.
rocks. Go Cyclones.
Go Cyclones.